Oh, wow. Before we get started today, just gonna oblige myself here on the old antacid tablets label removed. I think because I needed to see something from the Steelers offense, from the Steelers defense, to not make me have to use these. I'm Corey Crisan. That is usually Chris Halicke. I haven't seen him yet. Probably because.
Sorry. Listen,
There
guys.
There he is.
Sorry, I almost didn't show up like the Steelers didn't do yesterday. Okay, sorry about that.
Wow.
Sorry.
I'm not hot take artist. I don't want to be.
God.
And I don't think this is hot take artist at all.
Awful.
That was a capital D destruction of the Pittsburgh Steelers that we saw from the San Francisco 49ers. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Southside Beat. Win or lose, we are here every Monday through Friday from 3 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on DK Pittsburgh Sports. We proceed, of course, the Ramon Foster Show, which you will hear Ramon Foster and DK in about 1 hour's time. 30-7 was the final score. It felt like 90-7 with the way that the Pittsburgh Steelers played. I would say, Chris, 51 out of 53 Pittsburgh Steelers players played terribly if they suited up. Two of them being TJ Watt, who had 3 sacks and looked like TJ Watt, and Anthony McFarland, who ran a few kicks back and looked pretty good. That's it.
Yeah. It was a really, really awful game. There's just a lot of ways you can dissect this one, and let's just go ahead and just get this one out of the way. Kenny Pickett was just awful. It was his worst game as a Steeler. I might say the game in Philly last year might be kind of up there. It was a pretty bad game, but it was a bad game. It was just a lot. And the thing that with Kenny that was so concerning wasn't the fact that he missed a lot of open throws, like easy throws that any not just a franchise quarterback, but that an NFL quarterback should make. Don't get me wrong, that's concerning. The problem is that he looked rattled. And that's not – well, we talked about this last week about how Kenny, of all the things that he has, those intangibles can get you through a lot of stuff. The ability to shake things off and to stay composed and to stay confident even when things don't go your way. And this is the title of the episode, a reality check. This is a reality check that what we saw in preseason, that's why we don't try to overhype what we see in preseason, because we knew they were going to be playing a really tough roster. And God, they got smacked in the mouth to let them know, hey, listen, this isn't preseason anymore. You got to bring your A game every single time. You can't miss open throws. If even Pickett hits one of those early throws, just one, especially that crosser to Deontay about 15 yards downfield, even that one, that's a third down conversion. That's a huge gain because Deontay had a lot of room to run afterward. Mm-hmm. Who knows what happens? I think they were down 10-0 at that point. Who knows what happens at that point? They go down, they get 3 points. It's a 1-score game. They go down, they get a touchdown. It's a 3-point game. And momentum is such a big thing in football. And God, it was bad. It was bad. Mm-hmm. And those intangibles that we talked about with Kenny, the being looking rattled, looking off, looking like the weight of the world was on his shoulder, that's not going to fly with him.
This is the most level-headed take I've heard all day today, coming from B. Phil in the YouTube comments. It stinks the Steelers did not compete, but not everyone on the schedule is as good as the 49ers.
That's true.
Very valid point.
Yeah, it is.
Very valid, level-headed point. Let's break that down into 2 segments. And we're not going to talk too much about the 49ers because, quite frankly, they did all their talking on the field.
Yeah, we don't need to. The 49ers
Christian McCaffrey, I'm not going. I don't even have stats pulled up. I don't have any, numbers to quantify anything because I saw what I saw out there.
Yeah.
The 49ers out-physicaled, they bullied, they ran by faster. They were just on every level better than the Pittsburgh Steelers were on Sunday.
Yeah.
And no, the Steelers did not field a competitive 53-man roster on the field on Sunday. They did not. Kenny Pickett could not complete the forward pass. He did not have 1 yard of total offense until the second quarter. Later in the second quarter, more than a yard, rather, of total offense. The only drive that I could seriously say felt good in that game was the 2-minute drill before the end of the first half.
I don't even want
to hang my hat on that. You can't hang your hat on that.
No.
You can't hang your hat on that because that is situation 2-minute football. Check
playing,
that as a positive if you want.
They're playing a prevent defense at that point.
But everything else, Kenny Pickett could not complete a forward pass. He looked rattled. He looked shook. He looked scared, dare I say, in some ways.
Yep.
And this was an overall, I mean, I don't think it is a stretch to say this was Kenny Pickett's worst game as a professional.
No.
He looked unprepared.
Yeah.
He looked, again, scared to throw the football in some situations. And he was running for his life at some points. The offensive line, here's the only stat I'm going to bring to the table today, Chris.
Yeah.
Pro Football Focus grades just came out not long ago. The three worst performers on the Steelers' offense were Mason Cole, Isaac Seumalo, and Dan Moore Jr. Dan Moore Jr. graded a pass blocking grade of 22.8.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was a number that low that existed for PFF's grading scale. He was graded as the worst offensive tackle in football, right or left, from week 1. And keep in mind, he had help from Darnell Washington to block Nick Bosa. There were times where Darnell Washington single-handedly handled or pancaked Nick Bosa. So this wasn't even just about Nick Bosa like had a TJ Watt kind of day. This was an all-around systemic destruction of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I actually thought, like, for the most part, like, Bosa's going to get in there. Like, you're not going to completely neutralize him. But can you kind of limit his impact? And I thought, like, when it came to, like, the two best players on the field, both being TJ Watt and Nick Bosa, TJ Watt was more of a game wrecker than Nick Bosa was. The problem is, the difference, I should say, is the 49ers executed across the board. I mean, every single position on the field, all 11 players on both sides of the ball consistently executed their jobs. The Steelers did not. I hate to, like, go back and say, oh, well, they didn't look prepared or anything and put it on the coaching staff, because ultimately those players have to go out and make plays. They just have to. And and it's not like there weren't opportunities. They were absolutely opportunities. We go to Kenny Pickett for like the big ones because obvious missed throws. I think DK in his column calculated 7 surefire misses.
Just straight up overthrow, underthrow, way around throw, awful throws.
I'm just now starting to get into the film, and your favorite barber already said it. It's gonna hurt rewatching this game. It already has been. But one thing that I'm also looking for, and I'm gonna do something with this later on DK Pittsburgh Sports, maybe in a couple days once I get through it all. I'm gonna really go through. We lost Corey. We lost Corey. It's all right. We'll figure it out. We'll get him back. There he is.
Do you know what's crazy is if you click, like if you slide on your trackpad, you just exit the page. So I'm back.
Don't do that.
No, don't do that.
But
Bob brings up a point here. He watched his last Canada game yesterday. Here's the thing, Bob. No, you didn't. This one's not on Matt Canada. Not to cut you off, Chris. Not entirely. This one's not entirely on Matt Canada.
So here's the thing. No, this is not entirely on Matt Canada. Again, Kenny was bad. Kenny was really, really bad. The offensive line was bad. There was a lot of blame on the field to go around. A lot of blame. However, I still have major problems with Matt Canada's offense. And just in the very, very early stages of me breaking this down, and I'm thinking about how tedious I want to be with this. Like, do I really sit here and try to draw up every single play that he did just to see what the route trees look like on every single play? I just might do that. Because there were certain plays, and the play to me that stood out was the interception to Deontay. Poor decision by Kenny. Deontay was his first read. He went off of that because he was covered. Like, okay, good. Then he went back to him. Very rarely do good things happen when you go back to your first read whenever you initially went off of him. That's just not a good decision. But the rest of the routes were not good. The entire offense moved to the right of the field with nobody going left. You're then sucking the entire defense over to a smaller portion of the field and giving yourself less space to do things. Why? That makes no sense. So yes, there are still problems with Matt Canada's schemes. It's not He's it's bad. It's bad.
This is comment of the day so far from
Jim Everett.
from That's Biet that Kenny was Jim Everett, and the only response I have to that is, you mean Chris Everett? Wink. If you know what I'm talking about.
No,
if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. There was a really good point coming across, and again, we're live on YouTube 3 to 3:30 every Monday through Friday, and in real time, we're seeing comments come across. We're seeing your reaction, your takes. And there was a really good take, a rock solid take about 1 week ahead from today, Monday Night Football. They will have to face another really good pass rush in Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett that, if you saw highlights from the Browns-Bengals game, by the way, Browns destroyed the Bengals 24-3.
Yeah.
So if they did what they did to Joe Burrow, to Kenny Pickett, it's going to be another rough day at the office.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett was doing Allen Iverson crossovers over the top of the zero gap, over top of the center pre-snap in the first quarter. If you think that man's not ready to come in here and feast on Dan Moore and feast on Chuks Okorafor or Broderick Jones, it depends on what happens with Chuks Okorafor. Mike Tomlin said he's in the concussion protocol, and we saw Broderick Jones get a couple of snaps. I think it was 4, and then Dan Moore moved to the right side at the end of the game. So regardless of who's playing tackle or guard, they're going to have to face probably, maybe a top 5, well, definitely a top 5, one of the best in the NFL as far as pass rush is concerned. And it's going to be this all over again in a matter of 1 week.
To be fair, and there's not a lot of optimism after yesterday, but to be fair, Dan Moore has typically done pretty well against Myles Garrett in the past. As inconsistent and as much, complaining as we can do about Dan Moore, like I said, he's typically done pretty well against Myles Garrett in the past, and so he might go ahead. I mean, I'll be shocked if Tomlin pulls the plug and makes Broderick Jones the starter at left tackle this week. I'm just saying that if he goes out there and craps the bed again, I had to watch my mouth there for a second. Craps the bed again, then okay, we might need to start taking a look at it, because listen, this team can't get off to another 2-6 start again, especially if they do go 0-2. It's not the absolute worst thing in the world. Obviously, you don't want to do that, but then you have the Texans and Raiders and back-to-back weeks after that. It's flipped. It's Raiders then Texans. Those are both road games, so those are very winnable games against two teams that will not be in the playoffs. If you lose either one of those games, regardless of what happens in the first 2 games, those are some serious issues. And so, oh man, Christopher Gallo. Yes, dude, Dan Moore was really bad. Dan Moore was really bad yesterday. He was really bad.
Now, it wasn't all Nick Bosa either. It was a systemic breakdown is what it was. The Steelers' best offensive lineman yesterday, and is this arguable, was Chuks. I mean, I genuinely don't know, because that line was broken down on all levels by this 49ers defense. And a ton of credit does go to them. Yeah,
it is. So we know the 49ers front is it's great. I mean, they got Nick Bosa, they got Armstead, they got Javon Hargrave. They got a lot, but they were losing. I mean, the first run of the game, Isaac Seumalo and Mason Cole double team a backup. And I don't even remember what the dude's name is, but he's a backup, and he gets through, and they left Fred Warner unblocked.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, you lost a double team to a backup, and you left Fred Warner unblocked. So okay, was it schemed that way to not block Fred Warner? Because if it was, shame on Matt Canada, and if that was a busted assignment, then shame on Mason Cole and Isaac Seumalo for not picking that dude up.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad.
By the way, how about Fred Warner blowing up Najee early in the game, setting the tone right away?
Yeah.
The Steelers did not run the ball often, and I know they had to play a lot of catch up, and they had to play from behind a lot, and that's going to contribute to that. But even then, other than that 24-yard run by Najee Harris in the 2-minute drill, nothing from the run game. Virtually nothing.
It didn't even look like they were trying. It didn't even look like they were trying to establish the run. And this is the team that, from the very beginning, from the early stages of the offseason, from the time that I sat in the room at the table with Art Rooney II, pretty much saying we are going to run the football back in that was back in January, and there was no nothing about trying to establish the run. And it's not like you should be coming out, run first down, run second down, throw on third down every single time, because you can't do that. You have to be able to mix it up. But when the first run of the game is a jet sweep, and listen, okay, just on the whole jet sweep thing, I already did the math on this. It's on DK Pittsburgh Sports. I can share I might drop the link in the comments later so you can see.
Yeah.
The jet sweeps were not as bad last year as people thought they were. They just weren't. The stats prove it. However, the first run of the season should not be a jet sweep to Calvin Austin. It just shouldn't. I'm sorry.
Trevor brings up the cornerbacks.
Yeah.
Levi Wallace, no, he did not have a great game. And Patrick Peterson, I didn't see him in the locker room today, but I'm assuming he's diagnosed with foot and mouth syndrome after what he said about Brock Purdy in the 49ers passing game. No, he did not intercept Brock Purdy twice.
No.
He did not intercept Brock Purdy once. In fact, he gave up 3 catches on 5 targets, and 2 of them were touchdowns. One of them was an absolute ankle breaker by Brandon Ayuk that Pat P fell in the end zone on. And the other one was Brandon Ayuk out-muscling, going over, and getting the football away from Patrick Peterson on a wonderful toe tap grab. Patrick Peterson has some foot and mouth syndrome going on today. And that's, when you open your mouth and talk, Brock Purdy's play does the talking. Yeah. He's the one that backs it up. So, look,
what a comment.
Brock Purdy has to tell. He told Pat P where to. Yeah, I mean, listen. I know today might be a little hot because of what happened.
Yeah,
it might be a little hot because of what happened, and it's acceptable to be hot over what happened. It really is.
Yeah,
but the fact that we're sitting here, look, I picked the 49ers to win the game. I'm maybe the only one in the city that did that. I can't even take a victory lap today. I can't, because right now there's very little to be positive about what the Steelers are, what they did. Now, the only positive there's a few positives. TJ Watt was a positive, and he looked like his old self.
TJ
Wonderful
looked like
see.
TJ. Yeah.
Number 2, this is the toughest defense the Steelers will face all year, period. Yeah. Number 3, this could be the best team that the Steelers face all year, offense and defense. So now it's an easier, per se, matchup against the Browns. You would think there's going to be adjustment. You would think there's going to be a little bit more success, at least in the offense. I mean, you can't get any worse, really, than what we saw on Sunday. So while it might be right now all doom and gloom, there are things to be a little bit positive about. And I'll say this, remember what I said Friday. Today, we were going to feel something about the Steelers. And the title of the show, A Reality Check for the Steelers. What was the tone going to be about the Pittsburgh Steelers on this day, in this moment, after Sunday? Was it going to be competitive? That's what we thought it was going to be. Yeah. It wasn't. No. Nobody projected a blowout here. Maybe there was an inkling that this could have been, but nobody thought this was going to be a blowout. So the fact that it was, and everything went wrong, it's multidimensional. It's game plan, it's scheme, it's execution, it's design. And now the Steelers have to regroup in totality with, by the way, 5 key players being injured in the game, and then 2 more if you want to add it today. I was in that locker room an hour and a half ago. James Daniels, Miles Boykin in walking boots. So the Steelers are now banged up. A suddenly healthy team is now banged up. I wrote the story on DKPittsburghSports.com. This defensive line has to regroup immediately with Ogunjobi coming back from a foot injury, Cam Hayward with the groin issue, and Leal with an arm issue. That depth is suddenly thin. So guess what? Nick Chubb's on the horizon. Good luck.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. And there's one other thing that came from the locker room on Sunday that really kind of stood out to me. And I'm really not trying to get on the whole bash Matt Canada thing, because to reiterate before I even say it, there's a lot of blame to go around on the field yesterday that doesn't go to Matt Canada. But the problem, the one thing that I saw in terms of play calling, that's still a problem, is it's like the Steelers try to use third down as the only down where they try to get a first down. Allen Robinson pointed that out, and actually I'll go ahead and pull up the quote just so that I don't misquote him. And this is Allen Robinson. This is a member of the Steelers offense who said this.
While
And
you bring
so,
that quote up,
yeah,
I'll bring a comment up here from Trevor. Are we
yeah,
going to have Chooks against the Browns? I would rather not have Jones's first start be against Myles Garrett. Now, keep in mind, Myles Garrett moves around, and they have Zadarius Smith, which is a very, very good tandem.
yeah,
And I would say, as of right now, I would expect Chooks to be back. But obviously, there's a whole week of practice. There's an
yeah.
extra day of preparation. The concussion protocol is the concussion protocol, and Mike Tomlin talks tomorrow at noon, so we'll find out more then. But that's just the guesstimate as we sit here on Monday is that Chooks should be ready to go, and if he isn't, then I would expect Broderick Jones to start at left tackle and Dan Moore to start at right tackle.
Yeah, that would probably be the plan if Chooks can't go. But here's that quote from Robinson where he said, for us, it's just about being able to move the chains, being able to stay in manageable situations, being able to get first downs on first down and to get first downs on second downs and not having to wait until third down a lot of the times. Now, this is Allen Robinson. Now, I don't think he was absolutely taking a shot at Matt Canada there or anything, but it needed to be said, and for it to be recognized by one of the players on the offense, like that is a problem. And it's not just a run pass situation. What kind of pass plays are you drawing up on first down? What kind of pass plays are you drawing up on second down? Why are so many passes near the line of scrimmage?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Like, not saying that you shouldn't throw the short passes. Absolutely you should. But try to do some short passes that get guys on the run and can do something after the catch. This is the problem that we saw when everybody wanted to hate on Deontay last year for not running after the catch. Well, man, it's because a lot of the times when he was catching the ball, a lot of his routes were bringing him back toward the line of scrimmage. That's not a player issue. That's not executing his route or executing the pass. That's a scheme issue. Those instances, those schemes are still there, and that is the problem overall, where even if Kenny goes out there and plays a flawless game next Monday night, it still might not be enough unless Matt Canada does more to get the ball to his receivers where they can do something after the catch. Because watch what the 49ers did yesterday. They did that. The Steelers didn't, and the average time to throw between Brock Purdy and Kenny Pickett was almost identical. Almost identical numbers. So it's not like, it's bad. It's really bad.
You know when I sensed something was wrong? At the coin toss. The Steelers won the toss and received.
Yeah.
I was surely like, oh, they'll defer. That's what they do. No, they received.
I liked it. I honestly, in the moment, I liked it. I really did.
I don't want to spend too much time in the coin toss, but that's just,
a
sign of things to come.
But no, so I kind of understood that. It's like, okay, listen, we're a confident football team right now. We're going to take the football. Your favorite part, I don't want to watch it either, man. I don't want to watch it either. But they take the ball and they're like, listen, we're going to take the ball first. We're going to go right down the field. Like I like that mentality. The problem is that they had that mentality, went out there and did like the most conservative first three plays they could possibly do.
A big thumbs down is what that first drive was. And the second drive and the third drive. And you get my point. It
was bad all around. And Matt Canada is just as much to blame as anybody else that played in the game, period.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what this boils down to. Okay. What this boils down to is the 49ers being better. Number one. Yeah. Number two was Kenny Pickett playing his worst football game ever. He looked like the Mr. Irrelevant quarterback, not Brock Purdy. All the credit in the world to Brock Purdy, by the way.
Brock Purdy looks like a good quarterback, man. I mean, even if it's in Kyle Shanahan's offense, he looks good.
Forget about the concept of taking care of the football. There were situations where Brock Purdy showed more feel of the game than Kenny Pickett did. Actually, pretty much all game he did. There was a play I specifically remember where Micah Fitzpatrick, all-world safety, one of the best ever, like one of the best in the league, right? Not ever, but in the league.
Yeah.
He had a heat-seeking missile path to Brock Purdy. He had an open field tackle on the 49ers quarterback, and Purdy felt it out, and he evaded ever so slightly, and he got the football out and completed the pass. I can't tell you the situation. I can't tell you the quarter or the down or the distance, but I can tell you that it happened. And that play wowed me. That showed me, I said it on Friday, Brock Purdy was a good quarterback. He was a good quarterback. He was a huge reason why they got to where they got last year. He won 2 playoff games.
Yeah.
But he did everything right. He did everything right on Sunday. You got to give all the credit in the world to that kid.
Teresa says, Purdy's a good game manager in that system. Listen, he made plays that I wouldn't call that like from a game manager. He made some plays where he had to move. And when he moved, he did what we saw Kenny do in the preseason. He moved and kept his eyes downfield, locked on to either Ayuk or whoever else, and found them and hit them with an accurate pass. I mean, that's not game management. That's making a play on your own. That's when the play starts breaking down, get out of the pocket, keep your eyes downfield, make a play. He did that multiple times. Kenny didn't do it once. It's just, or if he did it when the game was already way out of hand. So the one is just so we can turn it, because we've done a lot of complaining about the game. We got 5 minutes left, but
I can't even say it was complaining. I think that's just observation at this stage.
Yeah. But
at this stage, it's observation.
But listen, we know the Bengals are not going to put up 3 points. And yes, I said the Bengals. I'm not misspeaking. The Bengals are not going to put up 3 points a game every week.
No.
We know the Browns are not going to shut down a high-powered offense like the Bengals every single week. We know that the Steelers are not going to play this bad 17 games, all 17 games this
Absolutely
year.
Not. Absolutely not.
And I'm talking about literally in all 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. It was a bad game. So if there's any optimism here, it's the fact that, listen, it should be able to only get better from here. And it's week 1. It can be a bit of a fickle week. But if you're going to get punched in the mouth the way that the Steelers did, you'd want it to happen now. You want it to happen in that first game, because now there's no mystique from the preseason anymore. There's no honeymoon period. There's no whatever from what happened in the preseason. Now it's the reality is there, and it's on tape, and everybody can look at it for every single player, from the coaching staff, from everybody. It's out there. Like you have to get better, period. And so
today's the day where we do this.
Yeah.
Today's the day where we do this. We rinse and repeat. We rinse and clean it off. Today's the day. What did they say? 24-hour rule. We're about 23 and a half hours removed from when the game ended.
The big term in baseball is we got to flush this one.
We do. And today's the day we flush it. Tomorrow's the day we move on to the Cleveland Browns, and we start to look at the football team at Lake Erie. I wanted to say a rude nickname, but I think I'll reserve them, maybe for the end of the week. And yeah, it is week 1. There's adjustments to make. Yeah. There's tape to study. There's a sobering now of the preseason. We can't talk about what they did in the preseason. We can't talk about what they did in Latrobe anymore as a symbol of this team, as a sign of this team. What we know is right now the Steelers faced the odds-on favorite to win the NFC and looked like a completely different ball club against them. They were outclassed against them. They were outmatched against them. They were out-game planned, out-physicaled, out everything that you want to say about what the 49ers did to the Steelers is correct. So we rinse it off today. We come back tomorrow. We start to prepare for week 2. Browns and Steelers, Monday Night Football, 1 week from today. And of course, all week long, we will be here to break that down right here on the Southside Beat on DK Pittsburgh Sports. DK and Ramon coming up in about 32, 33 minutes or so. We'll see what time that bell goes off. But for now, his name is Chris Halicke. My name is Corey Crisan. I'm going to go take 2 more Tums and absolve myself of this football game and the Pitt game, by the way. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you had a bad weekend of football, man.
Woo!
You had a bad weekend of football.
Robert asked who I'm picking for next Monday's game. You'll find out next Monday when we get on the Southside Beat. But we have 4 more shows until that. He's Chris. I'm Corey. This has been the Southside Beat. Peace.